Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is a movies, coffee and a chat video. So this is number 3. Try and do these every month. Maybe not the most popular or most viewed videos on my channel, I don't know. But I do like doing them because I think the people that are really sort of like invested in the channel do enjoy some of these videos where just sort of like quite chilled out, have less cuts going on hopefully in the video. I'll just waffle on, have a cup of coffee, tell you about everything that I've watched that maybe I haven't picked up. So I do like to talk about the movies that I've picked up, sort of like and what I thought of them when I get through them, so I'd like to try and watch them before I show them on the end of the month haul videos. So yeah, this is just literally a bit of a chat. I'll go through my letterbox that I've got looking down here on the laptop behind me, sort of below. And yeah, just pick out any highlights. I won't go through everything, but any highlights that I've watched over the last sort of like month basically. So yeah, without further ado, let's get going. So the first movie to talk about, I guess, is a movie that I picked off the shelf just at random to pick for a watch one night, and that was called Under the Shadow. So yeah, this one, really good. This one was, I give this 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's a 2016 movie. It is, let me just put up some details. So it's a foreign movie. It is... It's basically set in a war zone, so from an Iraq war zone, but it's a horror film or a ghost film, which is sort of a strange combination, I thought. It was on Second Sight, I think I've put this one out, and I picked this up for about £6 in a CEX a while back. But basically, a building is hit by a missile during the Iran-Iraq war. A superstitious neighbour suggests that the missile was cursed and it might be carrying malevolent Middle Eastern spirits. She becomes convinced a supernatural force within the building is attempting to possess her daughter, Dorsa, and she has no choice but to confront these forces if she is to save her daughter and herself. So yeah, this one was, I remember this being pretty good. This has got a bit of a mixed bag on other people's reviews here. So my pal Nicky over at Skin Crawlers, he's marked this one the same as me, 3.5 out of 5. Graham over at Manby Film, he actually gives 4.5, so you rate this pretty good. Who else we got? Ellery's in this one, so Ellery's Film Discussion, so he's got 3 out of 3 stars, so again not too far away from my score as well. Yeah, really interesting. So this one basically, as it sort of says there in the description, it's set in a war zone. It's like apartment block building. This missile comes through the roof. It doesn't go off. It just sort of sits there, and they sort of evacuate. And this woman's alone with her daughter. Her husband's away, I think, as a soldier in the war. And they're sort of in contact via phone now and again where he can get signal. But she's pretty much sort of like holding her ground in this sort of apartment building with a few other people that's getting attacked quite like fairly regularly, and they don't know whether to move on. But yeah, when it gets to the kind of like the spooky part, if you will, when it gets later on in the film, it's basically like a sheet. This like weird sheet appears, and yeah, the way it moves and the speed and the quickness of it and the kind of like the way they've shot that, it does actually get a little bit under your skin, I found. Like, I've never been so scared of a sheet in my life. But yeah, this one, really interesting take. I didn't know if the blend of sort of like a war zone and also then this sort of like horror element or supernatural element would work. But for me, yeah, it worked pretty well. So that was the first highlight of the watches since last one of these videos. What else did I watch? So I watched a few more things. I rewatched Mars Attacks, so that was, yeah, I haven't seen that in years. That was a VHS staple for me as a kid. That was 4 out of 5 stars, easy for me. I spoke about these ones on my video. Let me see. So I rewatched the remake of Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th, you know, just because I was one of them guys. Yeah, so the 2009 remake. Do you know what? I wasn't mad on it when I first watched it, but the more I watch that film, the more it grows on me. Yeah, what did I give that? Another 3.5 out of 5. So I think originally I probably would have given that maybe a 2.5, maybe out of 5. But now it's sitting at about 3.5, which is pretty good for me. So I watched a movie called The Legend of Ochi. Now this one, 2025, is a newer movie. I'm going to pull the details up for this one. So let's see who of my friend group have seen this one. Let me tell you the synopsis first. So this is something else is out there, it says. In a remote village on the island of Carpathia, I think that's Carpathia, a shy farm girl named Yuri is raised to fear an elusive animal species known as Ochi. But when Yuri discovers a wounded baby Ochi has been left behind, she escapes on a quest to bring him home. Now, this has got William Dafoe in here. He's probably the biggest name that I recognise from the whole cast. It is an A24 movie, so if you're familiar with A24, known for doing quite a lot of, I don't want to say low budget, but fairly low budget, I suppose, compared to the big blockbuster Hollywood, but interesting movies, artistic-y type movies. And this was no different, but this was a kids' film. So I say kids, it's like a 12A. Now, who's in this one? So Lisa from Lisa Loves has in this one, give us 3 stars. I gave this, I think, 4 stars, and I'll tell you why at the end. Ollie, so Ollie loves film, yep, he gave it 3.5 stars. And Movie Bug, yep, he gave him 3 stars as well. So, what I loved about this movie was the puppetry. So again, if you know me, I love the Jim Henson stuff, and this was 2025 doing practical puppet work. Yes, it used some CG to take out the green screen kind of like puppeteers that were doing it with rods and things just in the background or just off screen. However, the puppetry in this looked amazing. All this dark fantasy land. The story's nothing new, really, I would say. It's a generic story you would put over anything you've seen before. So this little creature's been left behind. This young girl who's a bit of an outcast befriends it, and then tries to get it back home. That's essentially the story. You've seen it 100 times. But what makes this special for me is the way it looks is amazing. Like, they've shot it in an A24 kind of like style in terms of the colour grading and the format in terms of the aspect ratio. So it's not your 16:9, it's sort of a narrower format, not quite 4:3, but a bit wider. I forget the format, I'm not that hot on formats. But yeah, the puppetry for this made it for me. The dark fantasy element for this made it for me. It's one of those films I went straight on YouTube afterwards and watched how was it done. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. It might be a niche like, though, because I am very much into that kind of dark fantasy / puppetry work, which this thing blended perfectly for me. What else did I watch? I watched Jackass the movie. It was another rewatch for me. I just felt like something big, dumb and fun. That definitely provided that. Let me see what else. Ready or Not. So I just watched Mike from Cinema Axeman's latest haul video, and he was saying basically he picked up Ready or Not and watched it and was underwhelmed, basically, the overall kind of opinion I think he had there. And I must agree, I'm kind of with him on that one. I heard so many great things about this, and when I watched it, I just thought it's fine. I give it 3 out of 5. I thought it's fine. It didn't do anything special for me personally. I kind of got what the story was doing. I just didn't really... It did exactly what I expected it to do. That's pretty much what I guess I could say. Nothing new, so I'm not rushing to see the second one. I rewatched Shutter Island. So Shutter Island, I would have had earmarked as maybe a kind of like 4-star out of 5 movie for me on the first watch of it. I went back, I give it 3 stars. This one, it dropped. It's rare this happens to me. I watched it on 4K, which I picked up ages ago. Yeah, and it dropped a star. I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in the right mood, but maybe it was the 4K. It looked too clean and too crisp, too bright maybe. It's just something about it didn't click with me on a second rewatch. So yeah, that was a little bit of an odd one. I hadn't had that before. Obviously we had the sad news of Chuck Norris passing away recently. I'll be honest, like a lot of people seem to be saying as well out on the community, haven't seen a lot of his films, I'll be honest, so I thought on the day of his death, or might be the day after, I decided to throw in my copy of Invasion USA. So I did christen the Garage Cinema that day, so I threw that on the Garage Cinema. It was pretty cold, I'll give you that, and I had my big coat on watching it. But yeah, enjoyed that. That was like good old-fashioned squibs, gasoline explosions, one-liners, one man takes on literally armies worth of men and still comes out without scuff. Yeah, exactly what you expect from that movie. I watched Scream 7. Now, a controversial opinion I think on this one. I enjoyed Scream 7. It's been, all I'd heard is negativity about the whole thing. Now, I will agree, it definitely goes down in quality as the film progresses. But the first act for me, was a 4 out of 5. So we're up until when this is going to be fairly spoiler free. I'm not going to try and spoil it for a lot of people that haven't seen it. When Gail turns up, when Courtney Cox's character turns up, that's when I laughed out loud, and I don't think you're meant to laugh out loud on how she turned up and the way she turned up. And from there, it took a big sort of step down in what it was doing, and then it took another further step down as it got like towards the final act of the movie for me. But the first act, I just thought was really, really good. I loved how it called back to the first Scream, which I'm obviously a massive fan of. It used, it's not really a spoiler. It goes back to that first house for a particular reason. I love that scene. I love the scenes from, again, I'm going to try to be spoiler free, so I love the scene that follows a panic room scene. So if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm probably talking about, when there's a bit of a narrow space. All these things, I thought these were quite unique and quite well done. I've not really seen in a Scream film before. I loved that it didn't shy away from the kills. The kills were brutal, I thought, and they just went for it, especially the one in the house at the start with the guy and the knife. Again, trying to skirt around too many spoilers. I just really respected the fact that it didn't pan away, it didn't kind of cut to like a wall being splattered with blood and just try and get a 15 certificate. It just went for it. It just opened up the floodgates and said, yeah, we're doing this, and here's how we're doing the kills. So yeah, really enjoyed that. I did, like I say, it did go down to, it did go down in my estimations as it got further and further into the film, but it had enough in that first act for me to go back and enjoy again, so I'll go back to that. I rewatched End of Watch, so I've been trying to do lately. I didn't quite know whether it's worth doing a series on this. I don't know if I could really stretch out a series on this because I didn't know how to frame it, so I thought I'd throw it into these. But basically, what I've been trying to do is I've got so many films on my shelves which I would class as great films. Shutter Island being an example, okay. But if I really think about it, I've probably only seen them the once. So I thought, and that once was probably getting on for 10, maybe 20 years ago now sometimes. So what I've been trying to do is go back to those movies that I held in such high regard and just check, basically, and just see whether my opinion from that many years ago still stands. So Shutter Island, it didn't. End of Watch, it did. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, this one you got Jake Gyllenhaal. He's basically so almost like a found footage. He's recording himself on little cameras, but there's also just some normal sort of like handheld cinematography cameras following them as well. Cops on the beat. Basically, they're just going around filming their day-to-day life on the streets, like dealing with different crimes. But I remember the end of this movie having quite an impact, and I'll be honest, it was one of those movies where I misremembered the end. I thought the end did something slightly different to what it did. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, really enjoyed how it ended, and I love how when films don't shy away too much from doing something like that with an ending. That's all I can really say without spoiling too much. Rewatched Zoolander. So Zoolander, yeah, one of these ones I used to have on DVD. You know, when you had back in the early DVD days, you probably had 10, 20 DVDs when everyone started off. That was probably one of my early collection DVDs, so I would just throw that one on constantly because it was only a selection of films you had. I hadn't seen it in absolute years, but yeah, really enjoyed that one. I haven't seen the second one. I don't think it's going to do any good for me to watch it, so I'm going to try and avoid it. Rewatch Mad Max. So the original Mad Max. Now this is inspired by Roy. So my pal Roy Barrett over at Roy's Blu-ray Movies. He I do my shelf videos, and he commented down there quite rightly, you need to get those 4K discs out and get them watched. So I definitely did. I must admit, I may have fell asleep on the first attempt of this one. I had a cider, so I woke up and everything was turned off, and it was the middle of the night with my headphones on. Round 2, I went back the next night and finished off the ending. Really solid film. One that I think, if I have seen it before, which I could have sworn blind I had, it was either so long ago I remembered little to nothing about it, or I've seen maybe the second one thinking it was the first one. I don't know yet. I'll have to watch the second one and find out. Next, I had a rewatch of Rush Hour. I think everyone was talking about Rush Hour for some reason for a while there. So I think Andy was watching it or talking about it from Forgotten What the Movies. Jordan said he'd watched it and then watched it or something like that. Anyway, I've been hankering to rewatch it for years, and I finally got to it. So I put that on. 4 out of 5 stars. Chris Tucker, as everyone says in this one, just hilarious. Jackie Chan was just like so quick on his feet with all these sort of action moves. Yeah, absolute classic staple of my my watching history growing up. I rewatched. No, I won't say about those ones. Those ones are going to be part of my pickups, so I'm going to skip over those ones. I watched a film the other night called Sleep Tight. Now, this one was an interesting one. So this one was from 2011, and this was a foreign movie, and I think it's from the director of Wreck. So if you're familiar with the film Wreck, this was the same director. Now, I picked this up in a charity shop years ago, I think, or a couple of years back, for about 99p. And it's sat on the shelf just in my to-watch pile ever since. So, 2011 released, Sleep Tight. Someone is watching over you. Caesar, an unhappy concierge, maintains a peculiar relationship with the very diverse inhabitants of the upper-class apartment building where he works in Barcelona. Now, this was not quite what I expected. So this one, it's one of those movies that just, it should creep you out. If you're a normal person, this should creep you out. It doesn't show an awful lot. We're just seeing who's watched this one. So my pal Kenny to give us 2 stars. He didn't enjoy this one. I give this one 4 stars. It was hovering over a 3.5. But I think the way the overall creepiness of this one just pushed it over to a 4 for me, and the sort of like fairly uniqueness. So I can kind of, how much do I tell you about this one? So this guy basically works at an apartment building, right? And he takes a particular interest in this woman who lives there. He basically stays hidden in her room while she sleeps at night. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. There's more to it than that, but if that premise, that very snippet of premise intrigues you, then I would say check that one out. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. That was Sleep Tight. I think that's up to date now. So yeah, that was pretty much everything, like the highlights anyway, of everything I watched in the last sort of month. So hopefully that's not been too long a video for everyone. That's not bad actually for me, just about 15 minutes. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you again on the next video. I'm not sure what order these videos are going. I'm basically trying to batch record a load of videos, so I don't know what order these are going up. I know I've had a lot of tag videos recently, so I've got 3 different tag videos I'm responding to. Hopefully I'll get those out. I might have already got those out. I don't know where things are going. But yeah, look forward to seeing you again on the next video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.